Hi guys, TKN here with the first JRPG news roundup of 2022. As always, we'll start with the Falcom news, kicking off with merchandise. A shout out to my man Hansuke once again for all his work in sharing this. So on the 28th of January, Pinbox put up 6 new Trails pins for pre-order, with the window lasting till the 15th of February. This will take them up to a full collection of 21 within the series, I believe. In this wave, we're getting Crossbell themed pins, a bit of Ouroboros, and a 40th anniversary design. The SSS ones in particular don't surprise me, considering back in 2021 they were gauging whether the fandom would want Crossbell themed pins, which of course was met with positive responses. It makes sense that these are coming up now with the upcoming release of Zero. Talking about Trails from Zero, the limited edition for the game went up for pre-order on January the 14th for both Switch and PS4, and it follows the standard formula for NIS America sets. An original steel case, the game, obviously, art book, soundtrack, fabric poster, acrylic stands, and collector's box. As of the time of writing, both the EU and NA stores are down to around 50% of remaining stock on both platforms. Moving to Ys quickly, it looks like Wayuu Records are once again diving in with a vinyl set, this time inspired by Ys Origin. These guys recently released a set of vinyls for Ys Openfelgana, and now they're doing this one too. I plan to open my own Openfelgana set soon, so keep an eye out for that during next week's merch roundup video. And rounding us out on the merchandise, it's time to look at the figures. Altina's already made her way out to many now. I got to mine about 3 weeks back, and now the Rune figure by Kotobukiya has also started to ship out. We've also been made aware that a third figure is currently in development, and we'll see a prototype soon. But Falcom were not done. They had a little bit more licensing that they wanted to share, and as part of an announcement event surrounding Good Smile Company's Modoroid figure line, we got a glimpse of an upcoming Valimar, the Ashen Knight figure. Holy crap. I have been crying out for figures of the Divine Knights, and now we're finally getting one. Though there is no pre-order window yet, this will be a day one pre-order for myself, that's for certain. And on top of that, a questionnaire was put up by Good Smile concerning future commercialization requests. So in other words, if we want more, we can directly state that intention via this medium. Just the thought of having them lined up on a shelf is biblical, so hopefully the voices will be heard to bring us the rest. Now to the games, not much to say here, but a couple of interesting updates. First of all, back on the 5th of January, there was a little extra shown in regards to the Kuro no Kiseki spreadsheet and its progress. It looks like most of the main story elements from each chapter are complete, and now they're working on side quests and naturally the editing processes as well, which is definitely a more time-intensive part of the project, I'm sure. Excellent work as always from them. And the second point of interest concerns Ys 9 Monstrum Nox, which thanks to Durante of PH3 Games, who has worked on many of the Falcom PC ports in the past, has now followed in the footsteps of Ys 8 by introducing a co-op mode, a fairly neat addition there if you want to play with your buds. Now let's move to the general JRPG news, starting with Square, as once again there's quite a bit to cover. First of all, Nier Automata and Replicant mousepads are going up for pre-order on the Square Enix store, along with other franchises sitting at around $35 each or £30 on the EU store. They will be releasing in March 2022. The other thing that took my eye was that the final version of the Triangle Strategy Limited Edition got shown as well. The only thing that wasn't disclosed in the past was this double-sided poster, and now as you can see we have that too. Looks interesting and can still be pre-ordered from select outlets. Talking about Triangle Strategy, it is worth mentioning the team themselves, who also happen to be involved with Bravely Default. Through their official Twitter, literally called the Bravely Default team, they have stated that they plan to announce multiple titles in 2022 in addition to Triangle Strategy. Nothing as of yet, since of course we've only just begun 2022, but definitely worth keeping an ear to the ground. The Switch versions of Kingdom Hearts that will coalesce as cloud versions have got official release dates set for February the 10th. So that includes 1.5 and 2.5 Remix, 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, Kingdom Hearts 3 plus Remind, and finally if you want the whole lot, there's Integrum Masterpiece also going up as well, as a cloud version too. Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, was added to the lineup for PlayStation Now in January, so you can give that a whirl if you wish. And sticking with Final Fantasy, in Final Fantasy XIV there were notable addresses concerning the current issues facing the games and the plans to alleviate them straight from Naoki Yoshida. First of all, the game is now back on sale following the rush generated by Endwalker's release. The Oceania data center was finally launched on the 25th of January along with incentives to transfer like XP boost and currency for in-game rewards. As for the existing data centers in Japan, Europe and North America, they are all scheduled for expansions as well, with the latter two receiving this in 2 phases. The first phases are estimated to come into effect around July of this year. And closing out our Square section, let's end with something a bit more light-hearted, well, heavy-handed for some, I'm sure. If you've been making the rounds on the Orbital network lately, you'd have noticed a certain event concerning the Italian Senate and Tifa from Final Fantasy VII. Long story short, the Senate were having a meeting on the 18th of January discussing data transparency and government decision making. Standard stuff that's touched on the daily, I'm sure. However, in this particular session, the Zoom meeting was infiltrated, and the presenter's screen, displayed to many others who were present in the session, was used to show some spicy stuff, which I won't be showing here. This went on for about 30 seconds, they eventually just stopped the meeting until they could sort it, the bloke who was sharing the clips was eventually found and kicked out, and they carried on with their day. Yeah, definitely a situation that I don't think many will be forgetting anytime soon, but hey, you know, this is the reality of Zoom calls sometimes, you've got to keep those doors closed. So yeah, that was interesting, thought I'd share that one. Anyway, now we'll jump into the Atelier series. Atelier Sophie 2, releasing on the 25th of February, and that has recently gone gold, has been getting a bit more attention lately, which makes sense considering how close it is. We got a little taste of the battle system in a trailer from January the 13th, and it appears to be retaining the style from the original Mysterious trilogy. Instead of the turn-based system that Riser adopted with the real-time elements incorporated into it, it's going back to pure turn-based with unique crafts and combos between characters, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with here. If they can build on what Liddy and Suelle did and make it even better, hey, they're on the right track. Moving on, the limited edition of Sophie 2 also got its final art shown off on the collector's box, which in of itself is split into 2 versions. The premium version comes with a B-free poster, an art book, a soundtrack, the box itself and a DLC code for one of Sophie's original outfits, and there's also the special collection box, which comes with all of the above plus some clear files, an A1 fabric poster, a keychain and a paperweight. That one is naturally more expensive. And talking about expensive, there's another Riser figure going up for pre-order, releasing in October of this year. It's a 1/6 scale figure, as part of the Taito Spiritel line, and it's not cheap. This is culture that comes at a price. 25,000 yen, which is about 160 quid. Even with that price though, I can see it doing well, because it's Riser. And finally, according to a Famitsu article from January the 3rd as part of the 25th anniversary of Atelier, Koei Tecmo said they had more plans for the series outside of the release of Sophie 2. Now, whether that materializes into any game collections like the DX bundles of the Mysterious trilogy, who knows, but it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. Can't go wrong with more Atelier. On to another light-hearted series now in Rune Factory, as the story trailer for Rune Factory 5 was shown off for the first time on the 13th of January in lieu of its upcoming release in March. That's a short and pleasing watch for those interested in this game. Monark, releasing on the 22nd of February this year, now has a demo available for PS4, PS5 and Switch, so you can get a taste of what to expect from this come a month's time. And Edge of Eternity got a little extra as well. In preparation for its upcoming console releases, there will also be physical versions for PS4 and PS5, but only in Europe. That will release on the same date as their digital versions on February the 10th, with a cloud-based Switch version due out a bit later on the 23rd. Next is a game that I'm told is a hidden gem. Now, I've never played Fuga Melodies of Steel, but I know a few other RPG YouTubers who have, and each of them have sung its praises, mostly tied to its well-executed story and its solid turn-based gameplay. You can get this on pretty much every platform, Xbox Series, Xbox One, PS4, PS5, Switch and PC, so it's easily accessible and it's not too expensive either, so it could be worth a look. And now might be the time to try and show some support, as the developer Cyberconnect 2, who some may know as the minds behind the Dot Hack series, have relayed the poor performance of what they describe as a passion project. As of January the 4th, the game had only recouped around 30% of its development cost, and despite its clear quality, at least on the surface, it's poor sales like this that pretty much ends passion projects altogether. Now, I don't know why it performed so badly. The marketing campaign surrounding it could have been an issue, or maybe it was following on from the likes of Scarlet Nexus and Integrate that released in the month prior, so this fell under the rug a little, who knows. It's a shame, but hopefully it will recover in due course. As for the developer themselves though, they haven't let Fuga's performance deter them too much, as they, like the Bravely Default team from earlier, have stated that they plan to announce a new game in February. With the 20th anniversary of Dot Hack on the way, who knows, it could be something new for the series, especially with the recent push to get Last Recode on the Switch in addition to its PS4 and PC versions. A little tidbit from Tales of now. According to an article from DualShockers via Famitsu, Yusuke Tomizawa, the producer of Tales of Arise, stated in an interview that there could be plans for a Tales of Arise anime, which expands on the current story we already have, but naturally he was quite coy in confirming this. Interestingly though, when referring to the shader graphics used in Arise, he did say it would take a considerable amount of effort to apply them to remakes. Now, whether that's hinting at some potential remakes in the future or it was simply a passing remark, who knows, but we can hope. There's plenty of Tales games like Tales of Destiny 2 and Tales of Rebirth that never came west, so here's hoping they might give that some thoughts going forward. Now onto the much appreciated Vanillaware. The developers of Odin Sphere and Aegis Rim have stated via Twitter that they will be celebrating their 20th anniversary with some t-shirts, and that has a pre-order window of the 8th of February. I missed out on the 13 Sentinels 2-year anniversary hoodie, so I don't really want to miss this one. I'll keep an eye on this for some more information when it pops up. And finally, before we move to the upcoming releases section, which is mostly indie games this month, let's jump to a title that recently released on PC back on January the 13th in Merry Skelter 2. This turn-based dungeon crawler is a fairly niche series coming from the likes of Ghostlight and Idea Factory, the latter of whom some will know are involved with the Neptunia series in particular. Now, the reason we mention Merry Skelter 2 is that a particular element known as the Purge Corruption minigame was removed from the PC port on January the 4th. A statement from Ghostlight read, "Due to circumstances outside of our control, we have had to remove the Purge Corruption minigame. For those of you who want to know how we've handled it in-game, it works the same way as if you've already completed a purge once and choose to skip the minigame. You pay the same cost in terms of Jack's mental state, and then the character is purged, as if you had successfully completed the minigame." Now, for me personally, I'm very much an advocate of keeping the content as the developers intended it to be, so sure enough, I wasn't too thrilled seeing this happen, even though it's not a series I'm invested in. Events like this set a dangerous precedent. However, thankfully, it seems like Ghostlight did see the light, so to speak, and issued a free patch to restore said minigame on January the 20th after consulting their partners. So, this has a happy ending. Anyway, we finish with some upcoming indie releases. In the case of this first game though, it's already here. Eternal Radiance released for PC back in 2020 and now has released on PS4, PS5 and Switch in digital form. It's got fairly positive reception on its initial foray. It's an action RPG, you've got nice visuals, and apparently it's quite a comfy experience overall. Not developed by a Japanese studio, but clearly takes inspiration, and it's not too expensive either, only 14 quid, which translates to about $20, so you're not really losing too much either if you want to check it out. Next on the list, there's Rise of the Third Power, developed by Stegosoft Games, who previously worked on the likes of Arafel from back in 2016. And again, despite not being a typical JRPG in the sense that Stegosoft Games are not based in Japan, the game itself has ties to the genre. Here's a little bit of footage from Arafel to give you an idea of what that game was all about, and how it lends influence to this new title from the developer. In light of the positive reception of Arafel, it feels right to at least point out Rise of the Third Power as well, which seems to follow in the same path. I'm not too sold on the sprite art, I must say. It doesn't really mix well with the pixel style, but who knows, could be worth a shot. This releases on PS4, Switch, Xbox One and PC on February the 10th. Now on to The 100-Year Kingdom, developed by Kairu-Sun Games, which is coming to Switch and PC on February the 3rd, delayed from its original Q4 2021 window. It's described as a strategy role-playing game, but even watching the trailers, I wasn't really grasping what this one was all about, so I read a bit more, and this is what I found. Players have 100 years or 100 turns to build a civilization represented by a grid and reach specific objectives. Each square of the grid can be filled by creating various types of agriculture, industry, infrastructure, houses, towns and cities. Your world will be free of complicating elements like diplomacy, war and calamities. Rest assured, barbarians won't invade and Gandhi won't launch a nuclear attack on your beautiful world, meaning you can focus on developing your world, strategizing where and what to build with what resources. Wow, that's a statement. But I like war in my strategy games, that's part of the fun. If nothing else, it sounds relaxing I guess, and maybe worth a shot. Won't be too expensive either. Apparently it will be priced at 1500 yen, which is about 10 quid. And last, but certainly not least, we have Atelier Rebirth, releasing digitally on the 10th of February 2022 for Switch in both North America and EU, which in itself is an enhanced version of the original mobile game Atelier Legend of the Redcap. This Switch version has enhanced graphics, new content, and additional missions. Here's how the game is described. The game is a turn-based RPG in which players control a redcap named Chabo, who has fallen from the sky and landed on the continent of Atelier. As Chabo, you'll need to hunt down monsters for experience and gather resources using a turn-based dice combat system, and you'll also be tasked with growing a village and building and customizing homes for the characters you meet throughout the story. Again, quite a cheap title, and it sounds like a promising premise too. It'll be roughly $20 or 14 quid on the Nintendo eShop. I'm just hoping that it hasn't incorporated microtransactions. That's my only real worry for this one. And that is it guys, your JRPG news roundup for January 2022 is complete. Please leave a like for more content like this, it really helps me out, and I'll see you next month. Peace.